Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles episode review. This one's going to be for Season 3, Episode 9, Return to New York. And yeah, the title is very fitting and something I suppose a lot of fans of this show have been waiting for a long time. Basically since the start of the season because of how they actually approached doing them away from New York. So this was definitely a return to form. I think it was one of the better episodes of the season. Probably the best, just because it's kind of the most plot-focused episode, and they didn't really get a lot done while they're in the woods. But yeah, so solid episode. I like that straight away we have plot. The episode had something big happen in that the Turtles got Splinter back. They addressed more of April's powers. They set up, that the Shredder is potentially going to betray the Krang and try and go after them as well. So, the Shredder and the Turtles may not be completely on opposite sides. Like, they may need to help each other to take down the Krang, who are the overall kind of more powerful enemy right now. A lot of stuff set up here, which I really appreciate overall. So yeah, I suppose a key part of the episode is that the Turtles get Splinter back, which is really cool because he was one of the best characters in the show, just because he's one of the only ones that they seem to have an arc with, that being his rivalry with Shredder. And so they said they had that, but they also had like character development in this arc, in that his injuries kind of caused him to revert to kind of more kind of primal instincts, kind of just being a rat, and kind of losing that kind of sentience of being a human as well. And you had April's power gradually begin to restore that back to him. So I like that they've set up that this is a power that April seems to have, and I assume it's the same power that she's probably going to use whenever they find Karai, which seems to be the plot of next episode. So that's a cool idea, that April can kind of snap people out of mind control, or like kind of fix people's minds in some way if they've been tampered with, just through her powers. So I like that as a setup for something else, something really useful that she has going for her. And I also like that Shredder wanted to restore Hamato Yoshi's Splinter's mind as well, albeit just so he could kill him with Splinter aware of what was actually happening. But still, it kind of shows some level of kind of like honor, revenge, that he can't just kill him now, even though like he gets rid of him as he is right now, but he is just a rat. He's not technically killing the person he has this vengeance against. So I like that they're set up that they are going to fight again and stuff like that. So Splinter's reintroduction into the series went really well. Yes, you may have some slight complaints about how kind of quickly they did this as soon as they got back to New York, but I felt like after the previous 8 episodes and how slow they were, how very little happened, they kind of had to return to New York with a bang, and they really have to get some stuff done now. So I actually really appreciate that they just went for it straight away. Next up, what else is there to talk about here? I suppose we got to see the whole Shredder and Tiger Claw talking about how, when are you just going to let the Krang basically mutate the whole world, or are you going to actually strike back? And he seems to be playing this kind of waiting game, waiting for the right moment to strike against the Krang. And that's interesting, just to see how exactly that works, because this is kind of something that's been set up in earlier seasons, that they joined forces to kind of gain control of the city, but that Shredder was definitely playing for himself. At some point he was going to betray them, and it's going to be interesting to see how exactly that happens, because the Krang seem so powerful right now, so much more powerful than even Shredder's forces. So I really do get the sense that at some stage maybe the Turtles will have to team up with Shredder to kind of take down the Krang, and then that will result in their having their kind of spot to have their big battle at the end. That seems like really cool setup to me. Other parts of the episode, there was a weird part of the episode when Leonardo, one of his swords got kind of cut in half, and then the other one kind of fell down and he couldn't get it. And then I thought they were setting up something like, okay, he's lost his two standard katana swords. He's going to get a new weapon at some point, more powerful swords or something like that. But then we just cut back to the turtle van and he's got them back again. So that was kind of weird that they specifically made a point of showing Leonardo losing his swords and his swords maybe not being the most resilient things, and then he just has them back. So I doubt it was really anything, but it was something I really noticed and I thought they were doing something with, but they didn't actually go with it. So that was weird. Yeah, it's still interesting. Yes, there was a lot of fighting in this episode, and it definitely wasn't the focus of the episode. There wasn't None of the fights were incredibly impressive. Primarily because the turtles seemed to train last episode, kind of as if they've grown as kind of characters. They're more powerful now, and they still kind of struggle in the fight against these kind of new. Shredder mutants, there's the small one, the big one, the one with four arms and stuff like that. That was a little bit weird. That it seemed like the turtles were more powerful returning to the city, and then immediately they just encounter enemies they can't really beat, and then Splinter's the one to obviously defeat them all by himself. And Splinter's fighting was actually really good, but still, I'm assuming that there will be a training montage, not montage, but there will be points at which Splinter starts to train them again, and they kind of have that big moment where they really kind of grow in power, and perhaps new weapons is how that they'll do that. Obviously, like I think in the 2003 show, they had that like electric sword. I can't really remember the name of it. That you had to use a glove to hold. And Leonardo had some sort of an arc with that. I can't really remember it that well. I think like Shredder could use it by himself. Leonardo had to use a glove, but they had this big fight. Leonardo used that sword, and I think killed the Shredder in that series. But they kind of seem to be setting up something like that. That Leonardo's going to need better swords, and that'd be nice if he kind of got some new weapons, something like that. But overall, good episode. And the other kind of big thing, I suppose, was towards the end of the episode. They really started referencing April's powers and saying that she could only sense around a few hundred people in the city when there was otherwise millions. And then when they make their new base in the kind of pizza place, she kind of senses that her father and other people are around them, like they're just next door, but they're nowhere in sight. So the obvious, I think, thing they're going for here is that they're in Dimension X, and because of the alternate universe thing, they're basically in the same like physical area, but because they're different dimensions, you can only be in one at the same time, but they technically take up the same area. I assume that's what they're going for, and we're going to see the turtles go into Dimension X to save people at some point. And that'd be cool. That'd be really cool if there was like a Shredder Turtles fight in Dimension X, and just these three factions coming to blows inside Dimension X or something like that. Other than that, the other events that they kind of fixed up the turtle wagon. They made a second one. It's less armored but has more weapons. Wasn't really sure about the whole like making weapons from like food products, like the soda and like mints to line the eyes of the Krang, the like stink bombs and stuff like that. It's kind of like, okay, I get it. This is a Nickelodeon show. That's the stuff you're going for. But I can understand the stink bombs, but the spraying like fizzy drink in their eyes thing was a little bit kind of like, really, you guys have swords and like sais and nunchucks, and you're doing this. It seemed a little bit like, what are you doing, show? I get that they're teenagers and they use all this kind of stuff, but wow, that was weird. But yeah, the episode accomplished a lot. They set up some stuff they're going to do in the future. They're going to search for Karai. That's one of the things they're going to do. They're going to search for April's father, and of course, at some stage, they want to take back the city. And there's just a lot of setup for stuff going to happen in the series right now, which hasn't been the case in the previous 8 episodes. So I'm excited for the series going forward for the first time in a while since the start of this season, basically. And so yeah, this episode really marked a return to form. Had some good character stuff. It was emotional in itself with the turtles getting to meet their father back. Just the exploration of Splinter not kind of having his humanity and then kind of gaining it back towards the end. April's powers is being explored and set up going forward, most importantly. So yeah, I'm really hopeful for the series going forward. I hope that they don't just do a thing like they've done in previous seasons where they have one or two, maybe three episodes in a row where it's plot focused. Like this episode they got Splinter back, maybe next episode they get Karai back, the following episode they get April's father back, and then they just decide that, okay, we're gonna hunt down some mutants now while we can't really do anything in the grand scheme of things, and they set up another in the woods type situation where they just have a couple of filler episodes before the plot kicks back in. I hope it's plot focused from here on out and each episode is meaningful in its own way. So really happy with this episode, and hopefully the rest of the season will kind of continue on the good form that this is set up. So definitely in the comments let me know what your thoughts were on this episode. Do you agree with me that this was a kind of return to better things for the show, or what? So and I suppose what you think is going to happen going forward. But yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.